find the mean, median, and mode of the following sets of numbers. And they give us the numbers right over here. So if someone just says the mean, they're really referring to what we typically in everyday language call the average. Sometimes it's called the arithmetic mean, because you'll learn that there's other ways of actually calculating a mean. But it's really you just sum up all of the numbers and you divide by the numbers there are. And so it's one way of measuring the central tendency, or the average, I guess we could say. So this is our mean. We want to average 23 plus 29, or we want to sum 23 plus 29 plus 20 plus 32 plus 23 plus 21 plus 33 plus 25, and then divide that by the number of numbers. So if 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers. So you want to divide that by 8. So let's figure out what that actually is. Actually, I'll just get the calculator out for this part. I could do it by hand, but let's save some time over here. So we have 23 plus 29 plus 20 plus 20 plus 32 plus 23 plus 21 plus 33 plus 25. So the sum of all the numbers is 206. And then we want to divide 206 by 8. So if I say 206 divided by 8 gets us 25.75. So the mean is equal to 25.75. So this is one way to kind of measure the center, the central tendency. Another way is with the median, and this is to pick out the middle number, the median. And to figure out the median, what we want to do is order these numbers from least to greatest. So it looks like the smallest number here is 20. 20. Then the next one is 21. 21. Then we go, there's no 22 here. There's, let's see, there's two 23s, 23 and a 23. So 23 and a 23. And no 24s, there's a 25. 25. There's no 26, 27, 28. There is a 29. 29. Then you have your 32. 32. And then you have your 33. 33. So what's the middle number now that we've ordered it? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers. We already knew that. And so there's actually going to be two middles. If you have an even number, there's actually two numbers that kind of qualify for the close to the middle. And to actually get the median, we're going to average them. So 23 will be one of them. That by itself can't be the median because there's 3 less than it and there's 4 greater than it. And 25 by itself can't be the median because there's 3 larger than it and 4 less than it. So what we do is we take the mean of these two numbers and we pick that as the median. So if you take 23 plus 25 divided by 2, that's 48 over 2, which is equal to 24. So even though 24 isn't one of these numbers, the median is 24. So this is the middle number. So once again, this is one way of thinking about central tendency. If you wanted a number that could somehow represent the middle, and I want to be clear, there's no one way of doing it. This is one way of measuring the middle. The middle, let me put that in quotes. The middle, if you had to represent this data with one number. And this is another way of representing the middle. Then finally, we can think about the mode. And the mode is just the number that shows up the most in this data set. And all of these numbers show up once, except we have the 23, it shows up twice. And so because 23 shows up the most, it shows up twice, every other number only shows up once, 23 is our mode.
Now, as we'll say, why this ungrouped and grouped data? If we have a large quantities of data, then it is easy for us and to manage if we can replace it in groups in a frequency table. So large quantities of data can be much more easily viewed and managed if placed in a groups in a frequency table. So group data does not enable exact values for the mean, median and mode to be calculated. Alternative methods of analyzing the data have to be employed. So what are the methods? Let us go for that. Let us take an example. If we have 55 aircraft arriving late within the 3 hours of duration at a particular Heathrow airport, then the number of minutes they were late is already given to us, and we need to analyze the data. We need to find out the mean, median and mode for this particular data set. Now this is the data which is given. If 0 to 10 minutes, there are 27 aircraft which are late for 0 to 10 minutes of duration. There are 10 aircrafts which are late by 10 to 20 duration. In this way, we have grouped the data into 6 class intervals of 10 minutes of late time or arrival time in this data set. Now come to the mean for calculating of this particular data set. Now this mean can be estimated or can be obtained by assuming that each of the raw data values takes the midpoint value of the interval in which it has been placed. Now we have 55 aircrafts, and the number of minutes where delay is also shown. We need to calculate the midpoint of these particular class intervals. Now these midpoints can be calculated by adding this minimum and the maximum of this class interval and divided by 2. So 0, it will add this 0 plus 10 divided by 2. So my midpoint will be 5. And similarly 10 plus 20 divided by 2. So my midpoint will be 15. In this way, we need to calculate the midpoint for all these class intervals. So next 15, then we will calculate 25, then 35, 45 and 55. After that, this is the total frequency we have to calculate. Then we will find out a next column which is midpoint into the frequency. So multiply this 27 into 5, so you will be getting 135. If you will multiply 10 into 15, you will be getting 150. In this way, we will get all the frequency values multiplied with their midpoints, and this is the column of f and x. So my mean total frequency for this column, which is given here, 27, 10, 7, 5, 4, 2 is 55, and my total frequency multiplied with midpoint column will be 925. So now we can calculate our estimated value for mean, which is summation of fx, that is 925, divided by sum of f, which is 55, and it will give you the result as 16.8 minutes. So my average or mean late value or late minutes for any aircraft can be calculated.
Alright, the weighted mean is going to be our GPA, and what goes on here is that it says the weighted mean of an n numbers, and once again we see the x sub 1, the x sub 2, and so forth, all the way to x sub n are weighted by the respective factors, and that's your f. So each variable is going to have a different factor or weight, and then we divide by the total weight. Okay, so let's take a look at an example of that. Okay, so it says, in a common grading system for finding a grade point average, A grade is assigned 4 points, a B grade is assigned 3, 2 for a C, 1 for a D. Find the grade point average by multiplying the number of units for a course by the number assigned to each grade, and then adding these products. Finally, divide the sum by the total number of units. This calculation of a grade point average is called example of a weighted mean. So this is how your grade's been graded. You've been weighted and graded on all your stuff all your life, whether or not you knew how to do it or not. So let's take a look at what they do here. They've created a nice table for us to see what we're trying to point out. We see here that if you get an A in this particular class, it's 4 points, and that particular class is a 5-unit class. Whereas in the history class, that person earned a B, and that particular class is a 3-unit class. In the health class is only 2 units, and the art class is only 2 units. And that makes sense, right? I mean, when you're in college and you're doing stuff here, your different classes have different weights. They're not all 3 credit hour classes, let's say. Alright, so what they do down here is they come down and they're starting this problem off for us, and they're telling us, okay, well, we scored an A in the math class. So we take that, and we have 5 units for that class. We multiply them together, our grade points times our units. And that right there is where we're taking our x times our f. So that's our x times our f. And then they have our x times our f, and our x times our f, and our x times our f. So we find the product. So now we've done the numerator. So let's go ahead and write that down and show everyone what's going on at this point. So there's our formula. Now we take our values and place them, put them in there. So, alright, so in the math class, we made a grade of an A. That gave us 4 points. It had a factor of 5. Plus, in history class, we made 3 points, or a B. It had a factor of 3. Plus, in health class, we made an A, so that's a 4. It has a factor of 2. Plus, let's see, in art class, we made a C, and that class has a factor of 2. And all of that is going to be over the sum of the factors, which is 5 plus 3 plus 2 plus 2, which came from right here. Alright, so with that said, now we go through and simplify our formula, which I'm going to do. So our weighted mean at this point is 20 plus 9 plus 8 plus 4 divided by 12. One more step. That last step is what they have written at the top there, and that's going to be our weighted mean is equal to 41 divided by 12, which is equal to 3.42. So that's my GPA, my 3.42 GPA for that particular semester.